Hello, good morning, my dear brothers and sisters. I hope you're all doing very well at your various places of work in your various homes. You once again welcome to this our channel. We continue our meditation today on the book of Joshua, chapters 4 to 6. So 4, 5, 6. I hope you had a very nice and spirit-filled meditation on the previous chapters. Please feel free to comment, like, share, and click on the notification button to receive more videos. And if you have not yet subscribed, we kindly ask you to do so. So we give a summary of these three chapters to guide us in our meditation. In chapter 4, we have the memorial stones. Then in chapter 5, we have the rise at Gilgal. And in chapter 6, we have the Jericho experience. So in chapter 4, began by saying God instructed Joshua to inform the elders of each tribe. They were commanded to take a stone out of the dry lap Jordan and keep as a memorial. The sign of this stone, which was taken, were the waters of Jordan, where the waters were cut off, because before the Ark of the Covenant of the Lord, when Israel passed through in the land. So we have this first stone. The elders did as the Lord commanded Joshua. God magnified Joshua in Israel's eyes, and they feared Joshua as they did to Moses. When all the people crossed the Jordan, and the last priest bearing the Ark of the Covenant came out of the water, the Jordan returned and flowed in its bank. This took place on the 10th day of the first month, thus the Passover was near. So before this, the chapter will end with the children of Israel when they were commanded to tell their children. So when their children asked them about the stones, they were to answer. God dried the Jordan for us to go over as he did the Red Sea. God did so that all the earth may fear the Lord and know how powerful he is. So this is an experience we have with our God, who is merciful, who shows wonders to his people, and we are supposed to confide in him. We are supposed to trust in him. In chapter 5, we begin with the kings of the Amorites and Canaanites. They heard that the Lord dried up the waters of the Jordan for the children of Israel. They knew they were thirsty. Their hearts melted. As for the children of Israel, God commanded they should circumcise the males a second time, because those in the wilderness were not circumcised. So the first rite we have here is the rite of circumcision, because they neglected this in the exile psalm, and in their pilgrimage to most of them were not circumcised. So God gave them this first sign as a sign of the covenant. So the parents of these were circumcised, but died in the wilderness because of their disobedience. The Lord officially rolled away the reproach of Israel off to them and called the place Gilgal, because that is the name they gave it. They all kept the Passover on the 14th day of the first month in the plains of Jericho. A special note to take in: God was approaching or providing manna for the people. Once again, the manna stopped because Israel began to eat of the fruits of the land of Canaan. So the chapter 5 ends with a surprise visit from the captain of the Lord's host. Joshua saw a man stand with a sword drawn in his hand. Joshua asked him if he was for Israel or against. The man replied, "I'm the captain of the host of the Lord that the Lord has sent." Upon hearing this, Joshua falls down to give respect and what he should do. So we come to chapter 6, which gives the narrative of Joshua's revolves around the story of the fall of the walls of Jericho. So the first experience we have is reaching the gates of Jericho. The gates of Jericho were bad because they were concerned about Israel's reaching it. The Lord then spoke to Joshua and told him he brought him to Jericho to deliver to his people. The Lord said to Joshua to take his armed men and march around the city for a full 6 days. 7 priests were instructed to carry the trumpets of ram horns and bear them in front of the ark. On the 7th day, the priests marched around the city, blaring their horns. The Lord told Joshua, the walls of Jericho will come tumbling down when they do this. Once the walls collapse, the armies of the Lord or the Israelites could then charge in, following God's instructions. Joshua followed along with the orders issued from the Lord. He warned his soldiers not to give any war shouts until he gives the order. They were not to shout on any day until the last one, when the time arrives to bring down the walls. Then we come to the walls falls down, the walls of Jericho. So on the 7th day, the priests finally let their trumpets blow. Then Israel told them to shout. Then Joshua told them to shout. This is the city that the Lord has given them. And only Rahab, the prostitute, and the family were to be left alone in the attack on the city. Joshua warned them not to loot the town, as this was not the purpose of their siege. The trumpet sounded and the army shouted. At this point, the walls of Jericho completely collapsed. When the wall fell, the army charged in with swords in hands. The army slaughtered all that was in their path. When the army was done with the siege, the city of Jericho was delivered to the Israelites. Only Rahab and her family were spared. This point, we want to make a note here. Rahab was a prostitute who was able to hide the spies that Joshua sent. So in this siege, her family was saved. So, really, in the experience of your life, God can make a way where there seems to be no way. What God has asked of you is to open your hearts to give in to what God asks of you, and everything shall be well. So we end here, and we continue in our next video from chapter 7, 8, and 9. I wish you a very nice meditation. Please feel free to comment, put your questions, so that we can all make a spiritual journey together. Thanks, and God bless you.